Good morning, I'm being attacked by flies. It's Dave Crane here on the roof, ready to go to the gym again. Ta-da! Yes, it's been a while. Ta-da! And lots of dinner as well. Hope you're feeling good. I wanted to say a few things about the Brexit. Now everyone's talking about it non-stop, so there's no point changing the subject because this is going to go on for a little while. And what I've been really surprised about is the amount of nastiness that people are saying. First of all, it was like a big surprise and we didn't know what was going to happen and nobody expected this, and what's that going to have an effect on what we do for the future, and what about our kids, and it was an old person's decision, not a young person's decision. What about all the people who did vote and they said they wanted to remain? What happens to all those people? Because as a direct result, it shows how little we are being controlled or given an influence over what happens for the country. Also, the fact that David Cameron's decided to resign, it also means that we've got somebody in charge who wasn't voted in, who's now looking after all the interests of Britain. Nobody knows who it is. And also the fact the next knock-on effect is like to be that Scotland's going to go independent because now they're really incentivized to stay part of Europe as a smaller independent nation. I'm not going to comment on any of this. Wales may follow suit, and Ireland may end up becoming a solid island together with North and South being a part of the same country, which is not a bad thing anyway. But that leaves England then being called the Kingdom as opposed to being called the United Kingdom because there's nobody to unite to. Look, there's a lot of things that are going to happen, and what I would suggest is one thing that I say to people when I'm doing coaching, and it's a very simple principle, because right now everyone's doing blame. I've watched people talking about kicking people off their Facebook page. You're not my friend anymore. If you can't behave civilly on my wall, then don't talk to me at all. Which I understand completely, but at the end of the day, these were people that you had as friends for a very long time. Whenever politics comes in, it shapes and changes the way that you relate to people, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. It's just they've got a different opinion, which you're allowed to have. You're perfectly happy with them before now, so why has it changed so dramatically just because you don't buy into the same ideas and principles that you do? Maybe if it did make a vote, maybe it made a vote different to you. Maybe they're still going on about it in a way that they need guidance. Most of the time when people are going on and on about it is because they're trying to reevaluate in their heads where they actually sit in this situation. If you're pretty sure that you know what you're talking about, you don't talk about it. If you're a martial artist and you're the toughest guy in the room and you're a black belt in numerous different disciplines, the last thing you do is show everybody how tough you are. You don't need to. You are tough. Anybody wants to question it, you'll show them. But you can sit there confidently. A number of things that are going to go on over the next... This could be 2 years. I mean, John Lincoln, a very good friend of mine, works for Etisalat, turned around and said on social media, I bet that Britain's back in 2 years. Who's up for that bet? You might be right, John. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen. One of the things that's going to happen is now, when the dust settles and the rest of Europe says, what, Britain didn't like us after all? Well, it wasn't the case. Britain never said that they don't feel European. They just don't like being governed by the European Union. It's a different thing, completely different thing. Everybody feels European, and they feel nationalistic at the same time, but we just don't want to end up having to compensate with laws that fit all but don't really fit anybody. That's what the vote seemed to be about. And so what it leaves is an opportunity first to make individual relationships with everybody, which wasn't there before, but also to consider which nationalities in the world, which countries in the world you'd actually like to be in a relationship with. You don't necessarily have to be with anybody in Europe. You can turn around and say, right, now's the time to get closer to the US, or closer to Australia, or even China or Russia, because you've got an opportunity now, not as part of a union, but as part of a nation that's looking for financial and economic partners. So there's lots of different opportunities there, but that's not what I wanted to talk about at all, because I think that debate's going to go on for ages and becomes really, really boring, even though it's really probably the most fascinating thing that's going to happen in the next 10 years or so. There's one principle that came to life in the whole event. When people turn around and say, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that was going to happen, and people turn around and said, hold on, what, so it was almost an even split, but the end result is, even on an even split, even with a lot of people who don't really know what they think, we still go ahead and leave Europe as a result of it? Why didn't anybody say so? Well, it's your fault. Here's the deal. One principle I will leave you with today, and I think it's major. It's a major effect when you talk about the things to do with Brexit. By the way, my doggy's here. This is Ash, just chilling out. Can you see her there? Hi, Ash. There you go. She doesn't like being on telly. Just got to ring her agent first, hey baby. So one thing that has to be said, and it's a major, major flaw as far as I'm concerned, and it's a real question that everybody needs to consider. Ash, no, not my camera. Here we go. Whenever it's in your personal life, wherever it's in your business life, hold on, can I just change? You just stick with me for a second. Right. Are you there again? Oh, good. Right, I just took the Wi-Fi off because it looked like the signal was going to go. Right, whenever you're in a relationship, whenever you're at work, whenever you're going to make a decision like this, whenever you're going to buy something or sell something, one principle, and this is it, write this down. Ask better questions. That's it. Ask better questions. Think about it. This whole issue is all about misinformation. This whole issue is all about not knowing what's going to happen. Some people turned around and said, well, why didn't you make it a much bigger vote they had to have? You have to get 75% of the voters, 70% of the votes before they actually decide they're going to leave. Well, these are questions you don't ask after the fact. Ask better questions beforehand. But the problem is, at school we're taught that asking questions is like a sign of weakness. We're back again. Hooray! This might be slightly disjointed, this video, because halfway through I went really quiet and I ran out of storage. Hopefully it's restored itself again. So at school you're taught that asking questions is like a sign of weakness. It means you're an idiot and people don't know, and people want to know that you're stupid, so they go, ha ha, stupid questions. But that's not the case in real life. You should ask as many questions as possible. If you look at the success rate of millionaires, the things that they do is they ask a ton of questions, more than anybody else, because they need to know the answers. If you don't ask, you just assume, and as the phrase goes, assume makes an ass of you and me. And this is also very true when it comes to the Brexit. If you didn't know what the consequences were, why did you vote? If you did know what the consequences were but weren't sure what people were going to do around, why didn't you make a bigger noise about it? And why didn't you get onto the people that are powers that be, if it was possible? I'm not saying you can get straight onto David Cameron and discuss it better. David Cameron, why didn't you ask better questions? What happens if? I know you didn't expect this to happen and nobody did, but there we go. So right now, start asking better questions. What is your position in it? Does it matter to you? I became an expat 22 years ago. 22 years ago, I decided, like many people did, that I couldn't find what I wanted within the UK, so it's time to get up and go. I left and came to Dubai, and I've had a wonderful experience since then. I managed to find a ton of successes I just wouldn't have got the opportunity to find in the UK. Having big events and traveling around the world and being seen as I made, and that decision is not a million miles away from leaving the European Union. I actually left the country. I'm proud to be British. Fiercely proud to be British, very proud to be English, and very proud to be European, but I just don't want to live there at this moment in my life, and it's felt that way for about 20 odd years. So where do you position yourself for that? Ask yourself those questions, because there's been a massive brain drain of people from the UK going all around the world. Now this happens on a natural basis, but one of the things that is different is, of course, any country that you live in, you have the internet. So you can choose a warmer country and still be British and still do business in the UK and all around the world. The border thing isn't as important as it used to be. This isn't as significant an impact as it used to be. It's still pretty big. So here's the deal. Ask better questions from now on at every single stage. Clarify. Don't worry what people are going to say, because they might turn around and go, yeah, whatever, weren't you paying attention? No, I wasn't, or I was, but I didn't get it. I have no problem doing that. Every time I go to a lecture or a seminar, even though it might be about a subject I know very well, I sit at the front so there's no distractions from people in my face who are, fidgeting and stuff like that. And if I don't know anything, I will ask, and I'll stop the lecture and I'll ask. Or I'll make a note of it and I'll see them later on. But I will always ask the questions so I can have clarification and clarity. I know exactly what I need. This whole issue is not just about what people didn't ask. The question is, what happens next? And people need to ask some really, really deep questions. First of all, how much does it actually matter? How much can you affect? And if you're going to go to somewhere new with the way that Britain gets run and the European Union comes together, because I think a ton more countries are thinking about leaving. If you're going to go to a new direction, where is that direction? And maybe you should go there first and wait for people. How powerful would it be if Britain turned around and cherry-picked the nations that it wanted to have in its own union, as opposed to taking on everybody and hoping that the middle ground works? There's a load of different options there. Some of them are very powerful, but the bottom line is, it's done. Boo-hoo. Stop crying over spilled milk. And start making friends with all people who've always been your friends. These people put in 10, 15, 20 years of a good relationship with you. Why do you allow one day and one choice to be something that splits you up? I guarantee those people are probably going to be the one set of who stuck by you before and will stick by you again. So chill out with it. Ask yourself better questions. Get them to think differently. And think, what's the worst thing that could happen? Europe hates us for a while. We've got to go alone. We've got to reinvent our brand. What does it mean to be British to you now anyway? Does it mean you're British or you're part of the European Union? Well, now you're not part of the European Union. Is it time to then look at what makes you British and work out exactly how it all comes together properly? I live here in the UAE, United Arab Emirates. I've been here for like 22 years. I'm at Dubai, there's flights all over the place. That's Dubai, that's Abu Dhabi. I'm actually in Sharjah now. Sharjah doesn't normally look like this, by the way. It's just that we're doing a load of work to the roads. This is where I filmed the zombie thing yesterday, or on Friday with Maya, my daughter. We're doing a lot of road work in here to improve it. So, I live in the UAE, and one of the things that happens out here is all the time they're improving and changing, and things are different on a regular basis. But what they do here is it's very simple. They say, look, this is the UAE, it's a Muslim country. We do things a certain way. But we also believe that business and money is very important to people. So you can make as much business and as much money as you want here. But if you don't like it, and you don't want to do it in our way, you don't want to respect that Ramadan is a time for not eating and drinking outside, that's the way we like it. If you don't like it, or any of those things, there's an airport. Go away. Go back to your own home country and see if you can do better. We have no problem with that. If you change your mind, come back again. We'll welcome you with open arms. And we've got best part of 200 nationalities all here enjoying that experience. Part of that experience as well is when there is a global war or a global conflict and things are kicking off between different nations, here it seems stable because they don't tolerate any grief. Under the rule of this is business and money and people have to get on, or there's an airport for them, people aren't allowed to bring their political grievances to this country because they're not tolerated. And that's a really good thing, because you don't spend your life having really crappy and painful debates like you will do in every other country. Now you can turn around and say, look, Dave, hold on, babe. Well, don't even call me babe. Hold on, Dave, mate. Why would you suddenly take away your right to vote? Why would you suddenly take away your right to have those debates? I'm not saying take away those rights to have those debates. What I'm saying is, if you know that your world is actually full of things that you can influence, you've got a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, great friends, lovely business, opportunities left, right and centre, why do you waste your time with things that you can't affect, like paying attention to the news or dealing with politics all the time? These are all things that are put out there to keep you enthralled, like a bit of a drug, to be honest with you, but unless you can actually affect and make a massive impact, then you shouldn't touch them. Concentrate on the things you really can have an impact on. Now that sounds counterintuitive to what's just happened with the Brexit, but what is still true is you need to be able to decide what it means for you. It's a personal choice. If it makes no difference to you, then fine. Maybe it's time for you to get out of the country. Maybe it's time for you to get back in the country and have a real control of what happens next. Bottom line is, and this whole rant is about one thing, ask better questions from this side on, rather than telling people the way it should be. Ask them what they think it should be and become super informed about the way it affects you. Forget everybody else, that's their choice to do it. Even as a nation, that's down to politicians to decide whether they're going to stay as Great Britain, United Kingdom, or just be the kingdom with some friends close on the same landmass. It's all up to them. But what's up to you is what you decide you're going to do to do about it. And that means asking better questions from now on. That's it, rant over. As you can see, I've got all my gear waiting for me. Look at that. My CrossFit gear's ready. I've got my music waiting to kick in too. It'll be my little Merlin speaker. Merlin are fantastic, by the way, if you haven't checked out their gear. This is a disco in a box. See that? Look at that. So I'm going to start my workout. I'm going to put on my gym stuff. And I'll catch up with you later. Share these ideas with people, by the way. Subscribe to this. Let everybody know exactly what we're talking about. And join the debate. I'd love to have your comments all the way through. And anything that's interesting, anything that you need an answer to, I promise I will do. I check it on a regular basis. Meanwhile, from me, and from Ash, and from the way the world is turning, look after yourself. And hopefully tomorrow will be an even better day. You never know, do you? Take it easy. Bye.